friends, Heidi here from Rain Country. God is good all the time, and I'm here today to talk about the workstation I have for paying my bills, answering questions on YouTube, email, and also where I pack up our orders to go out in the mail that day. And the main reason I'm doing this is that some people were kind of curious about how I do all this stuff, especially since Patrick did that video where he made that shelving unit, that little narrow shelving unit, and he made it specifically to fit in this little area to help me organize stuff, to make more space in my living room, because I do all of this type of work. It's just one of my workstations. That kind of work, all the computer stuff, that's where I do all that stuff, is right there on the floor. So you also might have seen the video he did on making that stool slash table that I use. That's actually like my little desk. And that's just more comfortable for me than sitting at a table, and everything's right there and handy for me. So it's been kind of an ongoing work in progress getting that corner of the living room set up where it's for ease of use, to make more space, and also to have it look nice. And it's been a challenge because there's always so much stuff going on and so much stuff I need in that corner. That shelving unit was the last thing that he did, and he did also make another little shelving unit that you'll see sitting on top of that cabinet, and that's for organizing the different papers. Some of that are the blank labels to go into the printer, some of it's just blank printer paper, and then other things that you'll see in there are like the letters that go out with the chambers, the generators, the seeds, plus another one you'll see, the curled up papers. Those are actually the backs to the labels. I actually save those things and recycle them. They get used for packing material. And so with all these different papers, I couldn't figure out how to keep them organized. So Patrick built me that before he built that taller, narrow shelving unit. So what I had in there before, and I don't have any pictures of it, but it was just an old metal bookcase that he took out of the dumpster when he was in the Army. I think that was when he was in Germany. He took that. He found that in a dumpster, and we've used it for many things. It was our entertainment center for many, many years, and then eventually became my little desk for my computer that he put casters on the bottom so I could roll it over and do work on the computer this way. That's if I'm sitting on the couch, but most of the time pushing it back and then sitting on the floor. But it was kind of getting cumbersome, and it was kind of ugly, and with all my stuff, I was having a heck of a time really keeping my stuff neat and organized in that shelf, and I hated the way it looked. And so to make it easier, nicer looking, and to give me more room, because we had that little leftover space, he built that shelving unit. And I tell you what, it's been a great blessing. So now what used to be in that corner was simply that basket you'll see on the shelf. That was holding the fire starter. So Patrick, the little fire pucks and anything else that we want to toss in there to use to help start fires with. And so that was just down in that corner, and then I had the pencil sharpener sitting on top of that, and I'd have to go around move my bookshelf out of the way that had the computer on it and go in there to sharpen the pencil, and it was just a real pain. And like I said, to me it looked messy. Getting the metal shelves out of there and using that wooden shelving unit, I was able to put the basket, it fit in there perfect on one of those shelves for the fire starters, and then all the other shelves hold things like we have the external hard drive where I store my videos. Then you'll also see on that shelving, like down at the bottom, since I'm always sitting on the floor, that's where I try to keep the stuff that I need to grab most easily. So having the external hard drive up on the top makes the most sense, because I don't need to access it, and it also needs to be plugged into the laptop, which is sitting on top of that other shelving unit that Patrick made for organizing my papers. And then, so down at the bottom of the taller, skinnier one he made, that's where I keep my scissors, my pencils, pens, various other things that I need to have ready. And that's sewing scissors. So what you can't see in the images I took is that behind like this pencil sharpener, which is also very handy now to me, is that's where I keep my pin cushion, because sometimes when I'm sitting in the living room, not all of my sewing happens in here in this room at my sewing machine. A lot of my sewing related projects happen also in the living room there on the floor. So I might be pinning stuff together, whatever it is. So I have to have my scissors and my tape measure and things like that handy. So, and then a ruler and all that. So like this little box you'll see in there, this was actually something, Patrick didn't make this particular one. It was another one of those auction items that, though Patrick could easily make something like this, sometimes you just bid on something that you know you will use that's nice in order to help a good cause. So this box sits nicely in that shelf, and I keep things in there like toenail clippers. That's where my tape measure is. I even have the dog's nail clippers in here, and various other small items that I just want to keep organized but also out of the way, and so it just doesn't look like a trashy mess. And then that other cabinet you see, now Patrick didn't build that cabinet. That cabinet, we have two of them. One of them, I'll show you a picture right here, is the one that he actually built a special top for it, a heavy duty top that he, I don't know if he did a video on it, but that top was made out of some chunks of old bowling alley. I can't even remember how we ended up with it, but the bowling alley here, they redid their lanes, and so somehow we ended up with a chunk of this bowling alley, and so he fixed that up, cut it down, and finished it out, and then put that as a heavy-duty top on that cabinet for putting the Country Living grain mill on. Now the cabinet, the two different cabinets, one you'll see is stained and the other one is not. So he stained the one to go in the living room. We picked those up for $10 a piece. It was a hotel. They were taking everything and refurnishing all the rooms. So they were getting rid of their little refrigerators they had in there, those little cabinets, and a whole bunch of stuff. And they were selling this stuff for dirt cheap. And so even though Patrick could build them, he couldn't build it for $10. So he grabbed a couple of those knowing we would use them for something. Even though we didn't know what we're going to use them for at the time, they were such a good deal. So again, the one is for the Country Living grain mill, and then eventually the other one became just another area where I could sort my labels, because I have several different types of labels, and some of that's in that top drawer. And then opening up that cabinet is also where I keep some of my different shipping supplies. Even though I have to keep boxes and envelopes in here in this room, we store them under the pool table, under the ping pong table. I do try to keep some always handy right there, since that's where I'm always packing everything and printing off the labels. So I have I'll have different size envelopes in there, and then the tape for wrapping the packages, and you'll see a bag in there that's got a bunch of fabric scraps. That's for wrapping things like skin cream, lip balms, earrings, any of the smaller things that I want to make sure stay well protected, but also makes it look nice and I can use up that scrap fabric. The box under that also is holding the lip balm, and then there's another little box where I store the copper rods that we sell. There I also keep all my list of bills and notepad paper for writing notes. So if I'm working on something and something comes to mind of a video I want to shoot, or something I want to add to a video I'm going to shoot, I'll sit there and take notes. That's also where I sit and pay my bills online. Everything, anything computer related happens right there in that spot. So just one of the several work areas there. Then if you go to the farthest corner, you'll see that's where the printer is sitting on top of another old cabinet, which is also another garbage find that Patrick got when he was stationed in Germany, and that thing is still used. That thing's been sitting in that corner for many years. That's where I used to store all the books when I was homeschooling my boys. All the books stayed in that cabinet. Now it's all been switched out for printer paper, shipping labels, like big packs of shipping labels, printer ink, and that kind of stuff. So that's my little workstation, how I have that set up. Now, one of the other things you'll be probably wondering, well, how do you edit your videos if you've got the computer sitting up so high? Well, I can stand there and do that stuff, but I used to sit at the table on the laptop and do all my video editing from there. And in a very short amount of time, I saw a major degradation in my eyesight. And I know obviously part of that's just age. At the time I'm shooting this video, I'm 55 years old, and that's just part of getting older, for one. But the fast degradation in the eyesight I knew was happening from the constant having to be this far away from the computer screen and constantly having to stare at it. And then when it got too hard to see the computer screen, then I had to start wearing the reading glasses. And that was hard too, because then it was constantly wearing the reading glasses was not only making red marks on my nose no matter which ones I got, they were also giving me headaches. And so we had to come up with a better idea. So that computer, the laptop, I rarely touch that laptop other than to open it and close it. That's usually all I ever do. Where everything else happens, where I sit on that, using that stool, where there's my mouse pad and then my keyboard, I can set it on the stool, but usually I'll put it under there when I just need the number pad for when I'm editing videos, and then if I'm typing, I pull it out and sit it on my lap and I type at it that way. So then what we did was we got a long HDMI cable so that we could hook it from the computer over to our bigger, it's not a huge screen, not by today's standards, it's old. But anyway, the HDMI cable goes from the computer, the laptop, over to the TV screen, and then I can do all of my computer stuff right there, and I can see it on the bigger screen, and I don't have to wear my reading glasses. So all this has done a lot. My eyesight, though it still has not been better, it hasn't gotten any worse. Now, some days will be better than others, especially if I can get away from having to, have a day out, getting outside, getting in the sun. Sunlight on your eyes is actually really important. Not staring at the sun, but indirectly having that sun on your eyes is very helpful with your eyesight, believe it or not. So whenever I can get outside, making sure I'm looking longer distances, focusing on things, trees and stuff, getting out to the property and just taking some time off, gives my eyes a chance to relax, and that does help my eyesight. I do have days that are better, and then days where I'm having to do a lot of video editing, not so good, or a lot of sitting in there and answering questions through email and on YouTube. So that does take a toll, but at least having that distance where I'm not so close to it and I don't have to wear the reading glasses has really made a difference. So that's how I'm making that work. And one of the reasons I wanted to share this is not just for people who maybe have YouTube channels or whatever kind of channels, and they're editing videos, or just anyone who's having to do a lot of computer work. Any way that you can get yourself set up for ease of access for things, but also to make it easier on your eyes and generally your health by not being so close to your computer screen all the time. This is one of the things you can do. So this whole setup, it's just made my life easier, and it's so much nicer, and I've got a little more space in the living room, and it is really nice. So I'm really grateful for the time Patrick's been putting in lately, really kind of pumping out some things to just make what I do here work better for me and just be easier on me in general, for my health and my eyes or whatever else. So, and that's also why Patrick hasn't been able to keep as many things stocked on the store like he normally has, because aside from all the little projects he's been trying to get done for me, and a lot of these were his own ideas, not mine. I didn't ask him for some of the stuff. He just had these ideas and they said, what do you think? And I'm like, that would be lovely. And anyway, so it's made it harder for him to keep up on everything for the store. Between that and some family, trying to help family out with different things, and somebody else, and then friends needing help with that, and just so much stuff going on. But anyway, so that's it. I hope you enjoyed this video and it gave you some ideas, and maybe just for those who are curious of how I make that work, well, that's how I do that stuff anyway. Thanks for watching. Take care, and God bless.